I'm a cat. Duh. Let's cut straight to the chase. There is no reason why Mandy Mango was in the bottom two, and there is no reason why that diva should have gone home. And do you ever get the feeling that sometimes certain queens get put in the bottom, maybe a little unfairly and microaggressively? I don't want to get the suit out of me. So for legal purposes, this is just a question. It's just getting a little familiar at this point. Hi, hello everyone, my name is Jer, and if you don't enjoy watching Drag Race and don't like it, just say that. Girl, shut up. The comment section is not the place to flex your below 6th grade literacy rate. I swear some of y'all go out of your way to be dense. We are talking about episode 3 of RuPaul's Drag Race season 18, RDR Lives returns. And I wish it wouldn't. Content warning, I liked the structure of this challenge. I think this was maybe the most effective RDR right next to the All Stars 8 one. I think, however, there were a lot of bum roles that were written. When you are doing a comedy sketch, there's supposed to be the one that's got all the jokes, the zingers, right? Otherwise, you get a little too overwhelmed. There's usually a straight man or a stooge, someone that is there to kind of take on the brunt of the jokes, and the comedy is sort of in them being a little more nuanced. There were far too many straight men written into every single act, and that doesn't make for good comedy. Not with a group size this big. When you've got this many people performing, everyone's gotta be center stage. Otherwise, it is just very clear that some roles were written to be the bum booger role and be the bottom. And I think that is what we clearly saw here. However, with some queens, they were dead set on putting them in the bottom. I have a lot of issues with the composition of this episode, specifically with the treatment of Mandy Mango. I have some issues with the way they mind Mikey Meeks. I don't like the way that they're picking on Discord. It's one thing to giggle about her walk. It's another to make an entire moment called Discord Cam and show her oddly walking across the stage, Ru bringing it up to her that she walks like a maniac, and then still letting Michelle and her giggle at it. There's a point where it is no longer funny, and I think we already reached that line, and I don't think that production was very subtle with what they wanted to do with this entire episode and what storylines they were trying to build going forward. I said last week that I could kind of see some writing on the walls, but I didn't want to say anything specific. What I'm predicting right now, based on what we are seeing, is that some of the finalists are going to be Juicy, Jane, Vita. And I can't quite tell where Nene is going to fall, but I think she is going to go pretty far. And I think Kenya's charisma stats are far too maxed out to not make it to the finale. There are a couple girls that are sort of in flux for me, like Athena. I feel like she's going to be a 5th or 6th out. But I could be completely blown away and she might go home next week. Didi Fuego is the first out of this season, but she was reconstituted as Mia Starr's runway outfit this week. Drag Race is never gonna beat those allegations that Latinos go home early. Some storylines that are developing right now is that Briar and Athena are the very clear rivals of this season. Athena is annoyed and over Briar. Jane is feeling the pressures of the competition, and that continues to chip at her as the week goes on. And Juicy doesn't know if they can do the challenge, but works it out last minute, and Ru and the judges connect with it. There is no Maxi once again this week, and I don't understand why we're not doing these. The Maxi is revealed to be RDR Live. Some of y'all last week said that you were very into this challenge and you were ready for it to come back. I don't like RDR Live because it's cringe. And I know that SNL is meant to be cringe, but it's written to be cringe by actors who know what they're doing. RDR Live is accidentally cringe. And the girls just have to fight over what roles they want to get. There is no proper way of divvying up these parts. I think it would have made sense if, since Jane was the winner last week, that she could divvy up the roles this week, or that her and Mandy Mango would be able to divvy up the roles since Mandy survived last lip sync. There's typically some kind of advantage from the previous week, but we're not seeing that in this season so far. Why? Who's to say? During walkthroughs, Mikey has this extremely emotional moment with RuPaul that only ends up getting translated into some emotional manipulation on the runway later. It's a little too early to say, but I think Mikey might be getting the Jan archetype edit, but we won't know if this is going to result in anything for quite a while. So let's breeze through these sketches. Discord and Mia do the cold open with Mandy and Darlene. Going back to what I said previous, there were too many straight men because Discord, Mia, and Mandy are all written to be the ones who are just sort of taking on the brunt of the comedy, where Darlene's character is the one who who is supposed to be hamming it up, giving content to each one of them to riff off of, but she is meant to be the center stage of that. And I think Discord and Mia were not written to be very funny. I think they themselves connected with the challenge well, but there was no chance in hell that they were ever going to snatch a win for what they did. And I am so glad that the internet agrees with me because Mandy Mango's performance was perfect. And let's call a spade here. It would not have mattered what that woman did. She would have always been the bottom because they wanted her out. For me, if I saw that role and saw that I was playing this demure Amish woman, I would look at that and think, this is a booger role. They're writing me to go home. This is very clearly the Stevie Nicks. I am not getting anything that's exciting. Who's gonna go, yes, Amish woman, yes? Nobody. So she was smart by adding levels to it, starting demure, starting mindful, and then revealing that she's a little freak. Because a lot of times those quiet folks, they are the freaky ones. I thought her titty that butter churner was so funny. I loved her levels of comedy. She just kept getting better. But if she had just played the role as it was, they would have told her that she was boring. Nothing she ever did would have been good enough because I think she was always meant to go home here. Why? I'll let y'all's mind wander. I thought Darlene gave a masterclass in physical comedy and was hilarious to watch. Both her and Mandy were hilarious in this set. And now that I'm thinking about it, RDR Live has a major problem that someone from the opening set always goes home first. Naisha went home in All Stars 8. Mirage went home in hers, but I think they probably would have sent home Geneva had Mirage actually known the lyrics. In 17, Arietti was the one who was eliminated from that opening set, but got saved by the plunger. And this week, Mandy went home from the opening set. My tinfoil hat theory is going crazy right now. Anyways, she should not have been in the bottom. I think if anyone should have been, it should have been either Discord or Mia. But their roles were written to be bad. So like, is that fair? Whatever. Athena does the opening monologue and has an inner saboteur for some reason, and that person is Briar. The judges gave this BS critique that Briar was not giving enough. I thought Briar was great as this stupidly written inner saboteur character that quite frankly didn't need to be there, especially because she already was in the Q&N segment. Athena could have done a fantastic monologue without interruption, but they decided not to. If they should have critiqued anything, it should have been what Briar did in Q&N, because that wasn't as strong, but she was great as the saboteur. It was a hokey skit, but it wasn't unwatchable. Lipstick Lovers is where I have my most question marks next to. That stars Vita and Nene, and they are interrupted by Kenya. How do I say this? Why does Drag Race keep asking its queens to portray lesbians? Real talk, real question, because it is always bad and inaccurate. I'm thinking all the way back to Scream Queens, Laganja and April. The Strong Gay Woman, Cynthia Lee Fontaine, Derek Barry. Even last year, we had some lesbian characters on RDR Live. It's always so stereotypical, and I have so many lesbian friends who do not act like that. And I don't know these queens. I don't want to comment on their lives. But all I know is that in gay spaces, especially in drag spaces, women are often not as welcomed as we would like them to be, or as they should be. And I cannot help but feel like asking gay men to portray gay women is not going to be accurate because they're not often invited into spaces where gay people exist. They are often ostracized from those spaces, so there's no way to know how those individuals act and react to things. I thought these parts were cringily acted, and I thought that Nene and Vita were the very clear bottom two of the entire night. But I think that Vita is a end gamer, and so they're not gonna put her in the bottom this early. Kenya Pleaser was the North Star of this group. When she came in, she ate up the entire scene and more than made up for this terrible acting that was happening before she got in the room. I think that she was one of the top 3 of the week. Sierra Mist and Briar Blush are then doing the Q&N segment. They had no jokes written for them. Briar was tripping up on her words here and there. Sierra was funny to watch but had no good content. And then Jane is the one who comes in and hams up the set. We're seeing a theme here, right? Darlene is the one who causes the chaos, interrupts the straight men characters. Briar is the interruption of the opening monologue. Kenya is the interruption of the 2 lesbian characters. And then we have Jane interrupting the news anchors. All of this was so formulaic, and it was like, ChatGPT, generate 5 different skits where people are doing something and then someone comes into the scene and makes up for the energy. I love Jane Dont's ally character. She personified it well, and I think she chose a good accent to lean in on. This Midwestern mom who loves her gay son and is getting involved in all the gay things with all of this kink innuendo built into it. She easily had the best written segment of the entire night. And as someone who is very kink positive, this whole set made me giggle. And then the same setup happens in the last skit where we have a young Michelle role, where it's Juicy and Mikey acting together. I thought Juicy had a great energy overall. Her presence and her stance, I think, was fabulous for this character. I do think that the New Jersey accent cucked her a little bit because I don't think that she was able to connect with the flow of some of this line delivery, but her presence was so strong, it was undeniable that she was one of the strongest of the entire night. And from going from, I don't do this, I don't act, I don't do comedy, I don't know what I'm doing here, to then knocking it out of the park, was a good storyline. And it was a great misdirect from where the episode seemed to be going, is that Jane Don't was gonna rack up her second win. I think it could have gone to Jane if her runway was a little stronger. And Mikey was a fun time, but because she was written so boringly, I don't think there was any way for her to stand out. No matter how good I think she did, she made it funny for what it was, but it wasn't written to be funny. In regards to what Jane was saying about feeling the pressure of the competition, feeling like the sharks would be swimming around her if she racked up another win, it is not anyone's fault if you are successful at something. Never dim your light so that others can shine. Always be the brightest bulb in the room, and if other people want to be as bright as you, they can put in the work. On the runway, RuPaul has an abnormal slay for this season. She looked hot, she looked sexy, she looked milfy. This is the glamour that I want to see from RuPaul every week, and she's been delivering something. This dynasty dress with the feathers was the week, the date, the hour, the moment. I love a copper color on her. She looked so good, it was practically sinful. And the runway category is called Animal Attraction. Huh, why this? I thought it was gonna be like a furry runway. This is probably a reference to something that I don't understand, and that's fine. Discord is first doing an albino alligator. Have you ever pressed the reverse button on a document as it was being shredded? I did like the human handbag, and I like the commentary on that, since we're always slaughtering animals to make fashion. Show the opposite, an animal that has slaughtered a human to make fashion. That handbag looked like a book that you find in Baldur's Gate 3. The Discord cam was the personification of evil. They are going out of their way to roast this woman when they could just leave her alone. And I think we've passed the line of this her walk is booger being funny to now it's just kind of cruel. Last week it was funny. This week, not so much. The fit of this dress is a bit awkward. The length wasn't great. It's a chop for me. I do like these colors on them though. I will give props to that. Mia is next doing a pink poodle looking like a reconstituted Didi Fuego. This look is if Furfru had blush blindness, a bodysuit, and a dream. Also, she has a son? Why is this the first time we've heard about this? That's a huge thing. I'm sorry, I don't like this look. I think it's kind of ugly. I like the translation of the poodle puffs as the breasts and the hips, but that's kind of where it stops for me. It's a chop. Mandy Mango is presenting a deer. A little doe idea. It's like dark-sided Zootopia. There was a content creator that got perma-banned from Disneyland because they made a bunch of Rule 34 content about Judy Hopps. Anyways, that's not relevant. I just thought about it. I like the makeup. It's very pretty and ethereal. The bodysuit is killer with all those little details on it. I like this sort of come over to my chamber and me in the ass sometime gown that she's wearing. The forestry of it all is cool. I like the way that it drapes and has all these mushrooms and moss on it. It's a slay for me. Darlene Mitchell is a cow. Let's go brown cow stunning. I love this nose ring, and I personally have zero problems with a flat shoe if it is stylized, and this is stylized down. Like if this was just a basic black Mary Jane, I would understand an upset, but these are shoes for the character. You do not have to wear heels to be doing drag. This is drag! The season 18 milk tag was a special detail that was left on the ear. I loved that. I like the shape and cut of this dress. It works for me. It's a slay. And we've seen hella cow looks on Drag Race. This was very strong in comparison to some of the others. Athena Dion is a white barn owl. Ooh. If Jareth the Goblin King got on Drag Race and served even higher astronomical levels of puss, this would be that. White and gold are always effective color palettes to me. Barn owls are so elegant and pretty, so I'm a sucker for the concept. I love that she's sticking true to her goddess Athena branding, represented by the owl. It's a bodysuit with stuff on it, but I love it. slay. Briar Blush is a swan. Now, I'm a little biased because I just saw Daphne Mugler on Drag Race España season 5 do an incredible swan where she came out, did some ballet dancing, reached into her bodice and pulled out this black gunk and put it all over her, doing commentary about the destruction of the environment and how that is affecting the animals. And so recency bias, I'm comparing it to that. This is unexpected from her. It's very pretty. It's the sort of familiar dress that we've seen on other showgirl type looks from Drag Race. Feathers on feathers on feathers on a corset dress. There's nothing wrong with that. It's very pretty. It's very slay. It is just, I wanted a little element of excitement from it. But again, that's recency bias kicking in, and I'm totally willing to admit that that is my forethought. Vita is presenting a zebra. This is so different from what we've seen from her, but it is still very pageant. I love this look. However, there's no makeup inside the ear and on the back of the neck. This is a 360 competition, and you do have to think about those things. There was a queen that I learned from very early on. I want to say it was Morgan McMichaels doing this makeup tutorial, talking about how queens often forget to paint the inside of their ears. And that was something that I always made sure to do, was put makeup inside my ears if I did any type of color on my face, because this is the first thing that people will notice is not painted. My eyes drew in on that. She did have a little heel on these zebra shoes, which is great attention to detail. I like overall the look. It's impressive minus a few small details. Slay regardless. Nini Coco is presenting a poison dart frog. In a night of 1,000 spray painted bodysuits, this was maybe the most special to me. I love the inclusion of that yellow gradient on the chest, being also on those nails. It's frog, but yes. And then popping a squat on the runway. Fierce. The black speckles all being buried on their size and shape made me very happy. And then translating the tongue through that noisemaker I thought was humorous. This is a huge slay. It's such a good look. Kenya Pleaser is presenting a tiger. Was it a tiger though? I think this look held her back from being the winner, because I think she easily could have been. It was a pimp tiger, and I live for her walk. I love her presentation, but the colors are so muddy, and that has a lot to do with this iridescent fabric that was used as the base, because it catches the light kind of wrong, and it makes everything look kind of messy. The stripes are a bit small for the costume. They needed to be thicker, and they needed to have bigger spacing on them. It's fine enough though, so it's a slay, but there are things that hold it back from being better. Sierra Mist is presenting a chameleon. This is so good. I love that they're playing with prosthetics. That is art, in my opinion. That is drag, in my opinion. The stonework is impeccable. I love the color theory of this look. It's like Slay Heartless that followed around Clayton in Kingdom Hearts 1. Slay down boots. Jane Don't is presenting a macaw. It's quite elegant, a glamorous silhouette for her, but I hate this dress. It's very come to carnival, but don't serve when you get here. There are so many textures and shapes. There's what looks like organza on top of a glitter fabric. There's so many different color stones. There's these kind of craft store looking feathers. There's draping. There's a print that's underneath it all. This bright orange hair that falls down I think is kind of distracting for the look. I like the princess seam of the bodice, but then there are more textures in there. The way that it's all been pieced together is a little overstimulating. And I think this look also held her back from a win. It's a chop for me, I'm so sorry. Mikey Meeks is presenting a cheetah. It's very Let's Go Girls. It's a Mugler reference, which I love. I like the cheetah hair. It's simple, which is not always bad, but it's not a wow. It's a safe slay for me. Juicy Love Dion is presenting a pangolin, which I had never heard of until this moment. Those cut scales is artistry at its finest. I like that she wanted to raise awareness about a critically endangered animal species on such a huge platform like Drag Race. This is the place to share a message. I like those little claws. Those are deadly. The shape and volume of this look is breathtaking. It is absolutely a slay, boots, house town, one of the best looks of the night. And I like that it's not so literal of an interpretation of an animal as someone like Vita, who did a pretty literal interpretation of a zebra. And it is not so far away from the character and sort of just fabrics inspired by the way that we saw Mikey do. It hits this nice middle mark of being super drag, super conceptual, and also meeting the brief. During critiques, we get some mental mind for the cast. A group of 4 are called a safe, and we think, okay, that's gonna be the end of it. But then they go ahead and call the next round of girls safe. And I said, Johnny, what the f? Was this some emotional manipulation because it already established in an earlier shot that Mikey really wanted to do this challenge and had a big connection with it? And so then they wanted to just make sure that she knew that she's not on their radar? Was this to prod a reaction from her? Or was it that whatever producer was in RuPaul's ear forgot to pick up their coffee and misread the script? And if that's the case, then why didn't they just re-record it, bring all the girls back, and call all 7 of them safe? I have a lot of questions about the logistics of this moment, but it rubbed me wrong. Something felt off about this. Yes, I am nitpicking these things because this contributes to the story and this contributes to the kind of toxic work environment that is Drag Race. The only thing I want to talk about with the critiques is that what they said about Mandy was bogus. And I already talked about this earlier, but if Ginger Minj did that very same thing, they would have lived. They said that the humor is in being demure. And I thought, bitch, where? That's whack. Riddle me this. If you can name one demure character that was written into Drag Race to be funny, tell me who they are. Where is the demure humor? Juicy is called as the winner of this week's challenge, which I understand. I think it was a good story week for her. And it seemed like this was mostly because they were surprised by Juicy and they want to set her up as an endgame player. And the bottom 2 are Mandy and Briar. Briar, I understand being low. I don't think she was the bottom. I think it should have been Mia and Vita. Mandy had no business being in the bottom 2. And the lip sync song is Live in Real Life by Lizzo. Kenya was probably back there pulling her hair out knowing that there was a Lizzo song in here. I was a little confused why it was used this week because it samples the Blitzkrieg bop Hey Ho, Let's Go, which was specifically sampled in the girl groups last week. Anyways, that's beyond the point. I'm also surprised that they even did a Lizzo song considering that the scandal has not gone away. The hot mics of all the queens living for Mandy's performance, I think shows a better idea of what the temperature in the room was and how they were feeling about those performances. And even Briar saying now that Mandy ate her up makes me really believe that this was judged oddly. Mandy is such a funny performer to me because she is so compelling and interesting, but then she hits these death drops off beat and it kills me every time. Briar is called as the winner of the lip sync, which I feel like Mandy ate her up. I feel like they're gonna use Briar to further push Athena's storyline and eventually have the 2 of them lip sync against each other, since they are kind of each other's rival and agitators right now. When Briar said, I want to make you proud, and looked at RuPaul and Michelle, and then it cut to Michelle sucking on her teeth, looking like that meme of 11 from Stranger Things, my immediate thought was, oh, they are not feeling her. It was very, yeah. The plot lines of this episode were all over the place. I think the challenge was decent and I think there were some high moments, but overall, I have a lot of issues with how it was constructed. I have issues with the edit right now. And I love Drag Race. I love talking about this show, but I do not like when production is too obvious with what they're doing. I don't want to see them. I want to see the queens being talented and showing their charisma, their uniqueness, their nerve, and their talent. I don't want to know what production is doing. And they are being way too obvious this season, in my opinion. Next week is a design challenge where they're going to be mashing up red carpet looks. I think that's going to be a cool source of inspiration, and I'm excited to see what they pull and what materials they give them to make that vision happen. But this room has already kind of established in week 1 that they are not the best garment makers, so it's gonna be a fascinating one. Vita's gonna sweep, I already know it. What did y'all think about this episode? Let me know in the comments below. And I just want to say thank you to all of my lovely subscribers who are a part of the Extravaganza Extra membership program. Thank you for supporting this channel. I'll see y'all on the flip.